Olá! Aqui estão algumas das palavras e frases mais importantes para você praticar e expandir seu vocabulário. Desejo a você um excelente aprendizado e muito sucesso nessa jornada. Bons estudos!
To have.
Ter.
To have. I have a car.
Eu tenho um carro.
I have a car. I have a car. He doesn't have time.
Ele não tem tempo.
He doesn't have time. He doesn't have time. To do.
Fazer.
To do. I do my work.
Eu faço meu trabalho.
I do my work. I do my work. Do you understand?
Você entende?
Do you understand? Do you understand? To make.
Fazer, criar.
To make. We make a cake.
Nós fazemos um bolo.
We make a cake. We make a cake. They make coffee and tea.
Eles fazem café e chá.
They make coffee and tea. They make coffee and tea. To go.
Ir.
To go. I go home.
Eu vou para casa.
I go home. I go home. We don't go out.
Nós não saímos.
We don't go out. We don't go out. To say.
Dizer.
To say. He says yes.
Ele diz sim.
He says yes. He says yes. I don't say anything.
Eu não digo nada.
I don't say anything. I don't say anything. To get.
Obter, conseguir.
To get. I get an email.
Eu recebo um e-mail.
I get an email. I get an email. She doesn't get it.
Ela não entende.
She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. To know.
Saber, conhecer.
To know. I know him.
Eu conheço ele.
I know him. I know him. We don't know the answer.
Nós não sabemos a resposta.
We don't know the answer. We don't know the answer. To think.
Pensar, achar.
To think. I think so.
Eu acho que sim.
I think so. I think so. Do you think clearly?
Você pensa claramente?
Do you think clearly? Do you think clearly? To take.
Pegar, levar.
To take. He takes the bus.
Ele pega o ônibus.
He takes the bus. He takes the bus. I don't take photos.
Eu não tiro fotos.
I don't take photos. I don't take photos. To see.
Ver.
To see. We see the bird.
Nós vemos o pássaro.
We see the bird. We see the bird. They don't see us.
Eles não nos veem.
They don't see us. They don't see us. To come.
Vir.
To come. She comes here.
Ela vem aqui.
She comes here. She comes here. Did he come?
Ele veio.
Did he come? Did he come? To want.
Querer.
To want. I want water.
Eu quero água.
I want water. I want water. He doesn't want food.
Ele não quer comida.
He doesn't want food. He doesn't want food. To look.
Olhar, parecer.
To look. You look great.
Você parece ótimo.
You look great. You look great. I look but don't see.
Eu olho, mas não vejo.
I look but don't see. I look but don't see. To use.
Usar.
To use. We use tools.
Nós usamos ferramentas.
We use tools. We use tools. She doesn't use a phone.
Ela não usa o celular.
She doesn't use a phone. She doesn't use a phone. To find.
Encontrar.
To find. I find keys.
Eu encontro chaves.
I find keys. I find keys. Did you find it?
Você encontrou?
Did you find it? Did you find it? To give.
Dar.
To give. They give gifts.
Eles dão presentes.
They give gifts. They give gifts. I don't give up.
Eu não desisto.
I don't give up. I don't give up. To tell.
Contar, dizer.
To tell. He tells a story.
Ele conta uma história.
He tells a story. He tells a story. Don't tell them.
Não conte a eles.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them. To work.
Trabalhar.
To work. I work late.
Eu trabalho até tarde.
I work late. I work late. We don't work today.
Nós não trabalhamos hoje.
We don't work today. We don't work today. To call.
Chamar, ligar.
To call. She calls me.
Ela me liga.
She calls me. She calls me. Did he call?
Ele ligou?
Did he call? Did he call? To try.
Tentar.
To try. We try hard.
Nós tentamos muito.
We try hard. We try hard. I don't try anymore.
Eu não tento mais.
I don't try anymore. I don't try anymore. To ask.
Perguntar, pedir.
To ask. I ask a question.
Eu faço uma pergunta.
I ask a question. I ask a question. He doesn't ask for help.
Ele não pede ajuda.
He doesn't ask for help. He doesn't ask for help. To need.
Precisar.
To need. You need sleep.
Você precisa de sono.
You need sleep. You need sleep. They don't need money.
Eles não precisam de dinheiro.
They don't need money. They don't need money. To feel.
Sentir.
To feel. I feel good.
Eu me sinto bem.
I feel good. I feel good. She doesn't feel well.
Ela não se sente bem.
She doesn't feel well. She doesn't feel well. To become.
Tornar-se.
To become. It becomes cold.
Isso fica frio.
It becomes cold. It becomes cold. We become friends.
Nós nos tornamos amigos.
We become friends. We become friends. To leave.
Deixar partir.
To leave. I leave now.
Eu parto agora.
I leave now. I leave now. He doesn't leave.
Ele não vai embora.
He doesn't leave. He doesn't leave. To put.
Colocar por.
To put. She puts it down.
Ela coloca isso no chão.
She puts it down. She puts it down. Don't put it there.
Não coloque isso lá.
Don't put it there. Don't put it there. To mean.
Significar.
To mean. It means a lot.
Isso significa muito.
It means a lot. It means a lot. What does it mean?
O que isso significa?
What does it mean? What does it mean? To keep.
Manter. Guardar.
To keep. I keep secrets.
Eu guardo segredos.
I keep secrets. I keep secrets. They don't keep promises.
Eles não cumprem promessas.
They don't keep promises. They don't keep promises. To let.
Deixar permitir.
To let. Let me go.
Deixe-me ir.
Let me go. Let me go. She doesn't let him.
Ela não o deixa.
She doesn't let him. She doesn't let him. To begin.
Começar.
To begin. We begin today.
Nós começamos hoje.
We begin today. We begin today. It doesn't begin yet.
Isso é Esses.
It doesn't begin yet. It doesn't begin yet. To seem.
Parecer.
To seem. It seems okay.
Isso parece bem.
It seems okay. It seems okay. They don't seem happy.
Eles não parecem felizes.
They don't seem happy. They don't seem happy. To help.
Ajudar.
To help. I help my mom.
Eu ajudo minha mãe.
I help my mom. I help my mom. Can you help?
Você pode ajudar?
Can you help? Can you help? To talk.
Falar, conversar.
To talk. We talk a lot.
Nós conversamos muito.
We talk a lot. We talk a lot. He doesn't talk much.
Ele não fala muito.
He doesn't talk much. He doesn't talk much. To turn.
Virar, girar.
To turn. Turn left here.
Vire à esquerda aqui.
Turn left here. Turn left here. I don't turn around.
Eu não me viro.
I don't turn around. I don't turn around. To start.
Começar, iniciar.
To start. She starts running.
Ela começa a correr.
She starts running. She starts running. Don't start a fire.
Não comece incêndio.
Don't start a fire. Don't start a fire. To show.
Mostrar.
To show. I show you.
Eu te mostro.
I show you. I show you. He doesn't show emotion.
Ele não te demonstra emoção.
He doesn't show emotion. He doesn't show emotion. To hear.
Ouvir.
To hear. We hear music.
Nós ouvimos música.
We hear music. We hear music. Did you hear that?
Você ouviu isso?
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? To play.
Brincar, jogar.
To play. They play soccer.
Eles jogam futebol.
They play soccer. They play soccer. I don't play games.
Eu não jogo jogos.
I don't play games. I don't play games. To run.
Correr.
To run. I run fast.
Eu corro rápido.
I run fast. I run fast. She doesn't run often.
Ela não corre frequentemente.
She doesn't run often. She doesn't run often. To move.
Mover, mudar.
To move. We moved today.
Nós nos mudamos hoje.
We moved today. We moved today. Don't move.
Não se mova.
Don't move. Don't move. To like.
Gostar.
To like. I like pizza.
Eu gosto de pizza.
I like pizza. I like pizza. He doesn't like rain.
Ele não gosta de chuva.
He doesn't like rain. He doesn't like rain. To live.
Viver, morar.
To live. She lives here.
Ela mora aqui.
She lives here. She lives here. We don't live alone.
Nós não moramos sozinhos.
We don't live alone. We don't live alone. To believe.
Acreditar.
To believe. I believe you.
Eu acredito em você.
I believe you. I believe you. They don't believe it.
Eles não acreditam nisso.
They don't believe it. They don't believe it. To hold.
Segurar, manter.
To hold. He holds my hand.
Ele segura minha mão.
He holds my hand. He holds my hand. Don't hold your breath.
Não prenda a respiração.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. To bring.
Trazer.
To bring. I bring food.
Eu trago comida.
I bring food. I bring food. Did she bring it?
Ela trouxe.
Did she bring it? Did she bring it? To happen.
Acontecer.
To happen. It happens fast.
Isso acontece rápido.
It happens fast. It happens fast. What happened?
O que aconteceu?
What happened? What happened? To write.
Escrever.
To write. I write a book.
Eu escrevo livro.
I write a book. I write a book. She doesn't write well.
Ela não escreve bem.
She doesn't write well. She doesn't write well. To provide.
Fornecer.
To provide. We provide support.
Nós fornecemos apoio.
We provide support. We provide support. They don't provide water.
Eles não fornecem água.
They don't provide water. They don't provide water. To sit.
Sentar.
To sit. I sit here.
Eu me sento aqui.
I sit here. I sit here. Don't sit there.
Não se sente aí.
Don't sit there. Don't sit there. To stand.
Ficar em pé.
To stand. I stand up.
Eu me levanto.
I stand up. I stand up. He doesn't stand still.
Ele não fica parado.
He doesn't stand still. He doesn't stand still. To lose.
Perder.
To lose. I lose my keys.
Eu perco minhas chaves.
I lose my keys. I lose my keys. She doesn't lose hope.
Ela não perde a esperança.
She doesn't lose hope. She doesn't lose hope. To pay.
Pagar.
To pay. We pay the bill.
Nós pagamos a conta.
We pay the bill. We pay the bill. I won't pay that.
Eu não pagarei isso.
I won't pay that. I won't pay that. To meet.
Encontrar, conhecer.
To meet. I meet friends.
Eu encontro amigos.
I meet friends. I meet friends. We didn't meet.
Nós não nos conhecemos.
We didn't meet. We didn't meet. To include.
Incluir.
To include. It includes taxes.
Isso inclui impostos.
It includes taxes. It includes taxes. They don't include drinks.
Eles não incluem bebidas.
They don't include drinks. They don't include drinks. To continue.
Continuar.
To continue. We continue walking.
Nós continuamos andando.
We continue walking. We continue walking. He doesn't continue.
Ele não continua.
He doesn't continue. He doesn't continue. To set.
Definir, configurar.
To set. I set the alarm.
Eu configuro o alarme.
I set the alarm. I set the alarm. Don't set it too high.
Não defina muito alto.
Don't set it too high. Don't set it too high. To learn.
Aprender.
To learn. They learn fast.
Eles aprendem rápido.
They learn fast. They learn fast. She didn't learn it.
Ela não aprendeu isso.
She didn't learn it. She didn't learn it. To change.
Mudar.
To change. I change my mind.
Eu mudo de ideia.
I change my mind. I change my mind. It doesn't change.
Isso não muda.
It doesn't change. It doesn't change. To lead.
Liderar.
To lead. She leads the team.
Ela lidera a equipe.
She leads the team. She leads the team. He doesn't lead well.
Ele não lidera bem.
He doesn't lead well. He doesn't lead well. To understand.
Entender.
To understand. I understand you.
Eu entendo você.
I understand you. I understand you. We don't understand.
Nós não entendemos.
We don't understand. We don't understand. To watch.
Assistir.
To watch. They watch TV.
Eles assistem à TV.
They watch TV. They watch TV. I don't watch movies.
Eu não assisto filmes.
I don't watch movies. I don't watch movies. To follow.
Seguir.
To follow. Follow me.
Siga-me.
Follow me. Follow me. Don't follow him.
Não o siga.
Don't follow him. Don't follow him. To stop.
Parar.
To stop. I stop the car.
Eu paro o carro.
I stop the car. I stop the car. It doesn't stop.
Isso não para.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. To create.
Criar.
To create. We create art.
Nós criamos arte.
We create art. We create art. She doesn't create problems.
Ela não cria problemas.
She doesn't create problems. She doesn't create problems. To speak.
Falar.
To speak. He speaks loudly.
Ele fala alto.
He speaks loudly. He speaks loudly. I don't speak French.
Eu não falo francês.
I don't speak French. I don't speak French. To read.
Ler.
To read. I read books.
Eu leio livros.
I read books. I read books. He can't read well.
Ele não consegue ler bem.
He can't read well. He can't read well. To allow.
Permitir.
To allow. They allow pets.
Eles permitem animais.
They allow pets. They allow pets. We don't allow smoking.
Nós não permitimos mais fumar.
We don't allow smoking. We don't allow smoking. To add.
Adicionar.
To add. I add sugar.
Eu adiciono açúcar.
I add sugar. I add sugar. Don't add salt.
Não adicione sal.
Don't add salt. Don't add salt. To spend.
Gastar passar.
To spend. We spend time.
Nós passamos o tempo.
We spend time. We spend time. I don't spend money.
Eu não gasto dinheiro.
I don't spend money. I don't spend money. To grow.
Crescer.
To grow. Plants grow fast.
Plantas crescem rápido.
Plants grow fast. Plants grow fast. It doesn't grow here.
Isso não cresce aqui.
It doesn't grow here. It doesn't grow here. To open.
Abrir.
To open. I open the door.
Eu abro a porta.
I open the door. I open the door. Don't open it.
Não abra isso.
Don't open it. Don't open it. To walk.
Caminhar, andar.
To walk. We walk together.
Nós caminhamos juntos.
We walk together. We walk together. He doesn't walk much.
Ele não anda muito.
He doesn't walk much. He doesn't walk much. To win.
Vencer, ganhar.
To win. They win the game.
Eles vencem o jogo.
They win the game. They win the game. I didn't win.
Eu não ganhei.
I didn't win. I didn't win. To offer.
Oferecer.
To offer. She offers help.
Ela oferece ajuda.
She offers help. She offers help. We don't offer food.
Nós não oferecemos comida.
We don't offer food. We don't offer food. To remember.
Lembrar.
To remember. I remember you.
Eu me lembro de você.
I remember you. I remember you. He doesn't remember.
Ele não se lembra.
He doesn't remember. He doesn't remember. To love.
Amar.
To love. I love music.
Eu amo música.
I love music. I love music. They don't love it.
Eles não amam isso.
They don't love it. They don't love it. To consider.
Considerar.
To consider. We consider options.
Nós consideramos opções.
We consider options. We consider options. I didn't consider that.
Eu não considerei isso.
I didn't consider that. I didn't consider that. To appear.
Aparecer.
To appear. It appears clear.
Isso parece claro.
It appears clear. It appears clear. She didn't appear.
Ela não apareceu.
She didn't appear. She didn't appear. To buy.
Comprar.
To buy. I buy groceries.
Eu compro mantimentos.
I buy groceries. I buy groceries. He won't buy a car.
Ele não comprará um carro.
He won't buy a car. He won't buy a car. To wait.
Esperar.
To wait. Wait here.
Espere aqui.
Wait here. Wait here. I can't wait.
Eu não posso esperar.
I can't wait. I can't wait. To serve.
Servir.
To serve. They serve lunch.
Eles servem o almoço.
They serve lunch. They serve lunch. It doesn't serve a purpose.
Isso não serve a um propósito.
It doesn't serve a purpose. It doesn't serve a purpose. To die.
Morrer.
To die. Plants die without water.
Plantas morrem sem água.
Plants die without water. Plants die without water. Hope never dies.
A esperança nunca morre.
Hope never dies. Hope never dies. To send.
Enviar.
To send. I send a letter.
Eu envio uma carta.
I send a letter. I send a letter. She didn't send it.
Ela não enviou.
She didn't send it. She didn't send it. To expect.
Esperar. Expectativa.
To expect. We expect rain.
Nós esperamos chuva.
We expect rain. We expect rain. I didn't expect you.
Eu não esperava você.
I didn't expect you. I didn't expect you. To build.
Né? Construir.
To build. They build houses.
Eles constroem casas.
They build houses. They build houses. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Roma não foi construída em um dia.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. To stay.
Ficar.
To stay. I stay home.
Eu fico em casa.
I stay home. I stay home. He won't stay long.
Ele não ficará muito tempo.
He won't stay long. He won't stay long. To fall.
Ai,
To fall. Leaves fall.
folhas caem.
Leaves fall. Leaves fall. Don't fall down.
Não caia.
Don't fall down. Don't fall down. To cut.
Cortar.
To cut. I cut the paper.
Eu corto o papel.
I cut the paper. I cut the paper. She doesn't cut her hair.
Ela não corta o cabelo.
She doesn't cut her hair. She doesn't cut her hair. To reach.
Alcançar.
To reach. We reached the top.
Nós alcançamos o topo.
We reached the top. We reached the top. I can't reach it.
Eu não consigo alcançar.
I can't reach it. I can't reach it. To kill.
Matar.
To kill. Poison kills bugs.
Veneno mata insetos.
Poison kills bugs. Poison kills bugs. It doesn't kill bacteria.
Isso não mata bactérias.
It doesn't kill bacteria. It doesn't kill bacteria. To remain.
Permanecer.
To remain. We remain friends.
Nós permanecemos amigos.
We remain friends. We remain friends. Nothing remains.
Nada resta.
Nothing remains. Nothing remains. To suggest.
Sugerir.
To suggest. I suggest a plan.
Eu sugiro plano.
I suggest a plan. I suggest a plan. He didn't suggest that.
Ele não sugeriu isso.
He didn't suggest that. He didn't suggest that. To raise.
Levantar, aumentar.
To raise. They raise prices.
Eles aumentam os preços.
They raise prices. They raise prices. Don't raise your voice.
Não levante a voz.
Don't raise your voice. Don't raise your voice. To pass.
Passar.
To pass. Time passes.
O tempo passa.
Time passes. Time passes. I didn't pass the test.
Eu não passei no teste assim.
I didn't pass the test. I didn't pass the test. To sell.
Vender.
To sell. We sell books.
Nós vemos livros.
We sell books. We sell books. She won't sell her car.
Ela não venderá o carro dela.
She won't sell her car. She won't sell her car. To require.
Exigir.
To require. It requires skill.
Isso exige habilidade.
It requires skill. It requires skill. They don't require IDs.
Eles não exigem identidades.
They don't require IDs. They don't require IDs. To report.
Relatar.
To report. I report the news.
Eu relato as notícias.
I report the news. I report the news. He didn't report it.
Ele não relatou isso.
He didn't report it. He didn't report it. To decide.
Decidir.
To decide. We decide today.
Nós decidimos hoje.
We decide today. We decide today. I can't decide.
Consigo decidir.
I can't decide. I can't decide. To pull.
Puxar.
To pull. Pull the door.
Puxe a porta.
Pull the door. Pull the door. Don't pull my hair.
Não puxe meu cabelo.
Don't pull my hair. Don't pull my hair. To accept.
Aceitar.
To accept. I accept.
Eu aceito.
I accept. I accept. He doesn't accept.
Ele não aceita.
He doesn't accept. He doesn't accept. To admit.
Admitir.
To admit. I admit.
Eu admito.
I admit. I admit. He doesn't admit.
Ele não admite.
He doesn't admit. He doesn't admit. To advise.
Aconselhar.
To advise. I advise.
Eu aconselho.
I advise. I advise. He doesn't advise.
Ele não aconselha.
He doesn't advise. He doesn't advise. To agree.
Concordar.
To agree. I agree.
Eu concordo.
I agree. I agree. He doesn't agree.
Ele não concorda.
He doesn't agree. He doesn't agree. To announce.
Anunciar.
To announce. I announce.
Eu anuncio.
I announce. I announce. He doesn't announce.
Ele não anuncia.
He doesn't announce. He doesn't announce. To answer.
Responder.
To answer. I answer.
Eu respondo.
I answer. I answer. He doesn't answer.
Ele não responde.
He doesn't answer. He doesn't answer. To apologize.
Desculpar-se.
To apologize. I apologize.
Eu me desculpo.
I apologize. I apologize. He doesn't apologize.
Ele não se desculpa.
He doesn't apologize. He doesn't apologize. To approve.
Aprovar.
To approve. I approve.
Eu aprovo.
I approve. I approve. He doesn't approve.
Ele não aprova.
He doesn't approve. He doesn't approve. To argue.
Discutir.
To argue. I argue.
Eu discuto.
I argue. I argue. He doesn't argue.
Ele não discute.
He doesn't argue. He doesn't argue. To arrive.
Chegar.
To arrive. I arrive.
Eu chego.
I arrive. I arrive. He doesn't arrive.
Ele não chega.
He doesn't arrive. He doesn't arrive. To attack.
Atacar.
To attack. I attack.
Eu ataco.
I attack. I attack. He doesn't attack.
Ele não ataca.
He doesn't attack. He doesn't attack. To avoid.
Evitar.
To avoid. I avoid.
Eu evito.
I avoid. I avoid. He doesn't avoid.
Ele não evita.
He doesn't avoid. He doesn't avoid. To bake.
Assar.
To bake. I bake.
Eu asso.
I bake. I bake. He doesn't bake.
Ele não assa.
He doesn't bake. He doesn't bake. To bathe.
Banhar.
To bathe. I bathe.
Eu banho.
I bathe. I bathe. He doesn't bathe.
Ele não banha.
He doesn't bathe. He doesn't bathe. To beg.
Implorar.
To beg. I beg.
Eu imploro.
I beg. I beg. He doesn't beg.
Ele não implora.
He doesn't beg. He doesn't beg. To behave.
Comportar-se.
To behave. I behave.
Eu me comporto.
I behave. I behave. He doesn't behave.
Ele não se comporta.
He doesn't behave. He doesn't behave. To belong.
Pertencer.
To belong. I belong.
Eu pertenço.
I belong. I belong. He doesn't belong.
Ele não pertence.
He doesn't belong. He doesn't belong. To blame.
Culpar.
To blame. I blame.
Eu culpo.
I blame. I blame. He doesn't blame.
Ele não culpa.
He doesn't blame. He doesn't blame. To borrow.
Pegar emprestado.
To borrow. I borrow.
Eu pego emprestado.
I borrow. I borrow. He doesn't borrow.
Ele não pega emprestado.
He doesn't borrow. He doesn't borrow. To bother.
Incomodar.
To bother. I bother.
Eu incomodo.
I bother. I bother. He doesn't bother.
Ele não incomoda.
He doesn't bother. He doesn't bother. To care.
Cuidar.
To care. I care.
Eu cuido.
I care. I care. He doesn't care.
Ele não cuida.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. To carry.
Carregar.
To carry. I carry.
Eu carrego.
I carry. I carry. He doesn't carry.
Ele não carrega.
He doesn't carry. He doesn't carry. To catch.
Pegar.
To catch. I catch.
Eu pego.
I catch. I catch. He doesn't catch.
Ele não pega.
He doesn't catch. He doesn't catch. To cause.
Causar.
To cause. I cause.
Eu causo.
I cause. I cause. He doesn't cause.
Ele não causa.
He doesn't cause. He doesn't cause. To chase.
Perseguir.
To chase. I chase.
Eu persigo.
I chase. I chase. He doesn't chase.
Ele não persegue.
He doesn't chase. He doesn't chase. To cheat.
Trapacear.
To cheat. I cheat.
Eu trapaceio.
I cheat. I cheat. He doesn't cheat.
Ele não trapaceia.
He doesn't cheat. He doesn't cheat. To chew.
Mastigar.
To chew. I chew.
Eu mastigo.
I chew. I chew. He doesn't chew.
Ele não mastiga.
He doesn't chew. He doesn't chew. To choose.
Escolher.
To choose. I choose.
Eu escolho.
I choose. I choose. He doesn't choose.
Ele não escolhe.
He doesn't choose. He doesn't choose. To clean.
Limpar.
To clean. I clean.
Eu limpo.
I clean. I clean. He doesn't clean.
Ele não limpa.
He doesn't clean. He doesn't clean. To clear.
Clarear.
To clear. I clear.
Eu clareio.
I clear. I clear. He doesn't clear.
Ele não clareia.
He doesn't clear. He doesn't clear. To climb.
Escalar.
To climb. I climb.
Eu escalo.
I climb. I climb. He doesn't climb.
Ele não escala.
He doesn't climb. He doesn't climb. To close.
Fechar.
To close. I close.
Eu fecho.
I close. I close. He doesn't close.
Ele não fecha.
He doesn't close. He doesn't close. To collect.
Coletar.
To collect. I collect.
Eu coleto.
I collect. I collect. He doesn't collect.
Ele não coleta.
He doesn't collect. He doesn't collect. To compare.
Comparar.
To compare. I compare.
Eu comparo.
I compare. I compare. He doesn't compare.
Ele não compara.
He doesn't compare. He doesn't compare. To complain.
Reclamar.
To complain. I complain.
Eu reclamo.
I complain. I complain. He doesn't complain.
Ele não reclama.
He doesn't complain. He doesn't complain. To complete.
Completar.
To complete. I complete.
Eu completo.
I complete. I complete. He doesn't complete.
Ele não completa.
He doesn't complete. He doesn't complete. To confirm.
Confirmar.
To confirm. I confirm.
Eu confirmo.
I confirm. I confirm. He doesn't confirm.
Ele não confirma.
He doesn't confirm. He doesn't confirm. To connect.
Conectar.
To connect. I connect.
Eu conecto.
I connect. I connect. He doesn't connect.
Ele não conecta.
He doesn't connect. He doesn't connect. To contain.
Conter.
To contain. I contain.
Eu contenho.
I contain. I contain. He doesn't contain.
Ele não contém.
He doesn't contain. He doesn't contain. To copy.
Copiar.
To copy. I copy.
Eu copio.
I copy. I copy. He doesn't copy.
Ele não copia.
He doesn't copy. He doesn't copy. To correct.
Corrigir.
To correct. I correct.
Eu corrijo.
I correct. I correct. He doesn't correct.
Ele não corrige.
He doesn't correct. He doesn't correct. To cost.
Custar.
To cost. I cost.
Eu custo.
I cost. I cost. He doesn't cost.
Ele não custa.
He doesn't cost. He doesn't cost. To cough.
Tossir.
To cough. I cough.
Eu tuço.
I cough. I cough. He doesn't cough.
Ele não tosse.
He doesn't cough. He doesn't cough. To count.
Contar.
To count. I count.
Eu conto.
I count. I count. He doesn't count.
Ele não conta.
He doesn't count. He doesn't count. To cover.
Cobrir.
To cover. I cover.
Eu cubro.
I cover. I cover. He doesn't cover.
Ele não cobre.
He doesn't cover. He doesn't cover. To crash.
Bater.
To crash. I crash.
Eu bato.
I crash. I crash. He doesn't crash.
Ele não bate.
He doesn't crash. He doesn't crash. To crawl.
Engatinhar.
To crawl. I crawl.
Eu engatinho.
I crawl. I crawl. He doesn't crawl.
Ele não engatinha.
He doesn't crawl. He doesn't crawl. To cross.
Cruzar.
To cross. I cross.
Eu cruzo.
I cross. I cross. He doesn't cross.
Ele não cruza.
He doesn't cross. He doesn't cross. To cry.
Chorar.
To cry. I cry.
Eu choro.
I cry. I cry. He doesn't cry.
Ele não chora.
He doesn't cry. He doesn't cry. To damage.
Danificar.
To damage. I damage.
Eu danifico.
I damage. I damage. He doesn't damage.
Ele não danifica.
He doesn't damage. He doesn't damage. To dance.
Dançar.
To dance. I dance.
Eu danço.
I dance. I dance. He doesn't dance.
Ele não dança.
He doesn't dance. He doesn't dance. To deliver.
Entregar.
To deliver. I deliver.
Eu entrego.
I deliver. I deliver. He doesn't deliver.
Ele não entrega.
He doesn't deliver. He doesn't deliver. To depend.
Depender.
To depend. I depend.
Eu dependo.
I depend. I depend. He doesn't depend.
Ele não depende.
He doesn't depend. He doesn't depend. To describe.
Descrever.
To describe. I describe.
Eu descrevo.
I describe. I describe. He doesn't describe.
Ele não descreve.
He doesn't describe. He doesn't describe. To design.
Projetar.
To design. I design.
Eu projeto.
I design. I design. He doesn't design.
Ele não projeta.
He doesn't design. He doesn't design. To destroy.
Destruir.
To destroy. I destroy.
Eu destruo.
I destroy. I destroy. He doesn't destroy.
Ele não destrói.
He doesn't destroy. He doesn't destroy. To develop.
Desenvolver.
To develop. I develop.
Eu desenvolvo.
I develop. I develop. He doesn't develop.
Ele não desenvolve.
He doesn't develop. He doesn't develop. To disagree.
Discordar.
To disagree. I disagree.
Eu discordo.
I disagree. I disagree. He doesn't disagree.
Ele não discorda.
He doesn't disagree. He doesn't disagree. To discover.
Descobrir.
To discover. I discover.
Eu descubro.
I discover. I discover. He doesn't discover.
Ele não descobre.
He doesn't discover. He doesn't discover. To discuss.
Discutir.
To discuss. I discuss.
Eu discuto.
I discuss. I discuss. He doesn't discuss.
Ele não discute.
He doesn't discuss. He doesn't discuss. To divide.
Dividir.
To divide. I divide.
Eu divido.
I divide. I divide. He doesn't divide.
Ele não divide.
He doesn't divide. He doesn't divide. To draw.
Desenhar.
To draw. I draw.
Eu desenho.
I draw. I draw. He doesn't draw.
Ele não desenha.
He doesn't draw. He doesn't draw. To dream.
Sonhar.
To dream. I dream.
Eu sonho.
I dream. I dream. He doesn't dream.
Ele não sonha.
He doesn't dream. He doesn't dream. To dress.
Vestir.
To dress. I dress.
Eu visto.
I dress. I dress. He doesn't dress.
Ele não veste.
He doesn't dress. He doesn't dress. To drink.
Beber.
To drink. I drink.
Eu bebo.
I drink. I drink. He doesn't drink.
Ele não bebe.
He doesn't drink. He doesn't drink. To drive.
Dirigir.
To drive. I drive.
Eu dirijo.
I drive. I drive. He doesn't drive.
Ele não dirige.
He doesn't drive. He doesn't drive. To drop.
Derrubar.
To drop. I drop.
Eu derrubo.
I drop. I drop. He doesn't drop.
Ele não derruba.
He doesn't drop. He doesn't drop. To dry.
Secar.
To dry. I dry.
Eu seco.
I dry. I dry. He doesn't dry.
Ele não seca.
He doesn't dry. He doesn't dry. To earn.
Ganhar.
To earn. I earn.
Eu ganho.
I earn. I earn. He doesn't earn.
Ele não ganha.
He doesn't earn. He doesn't earn. To eat.
Comer.
To eat. I eat.
Eu como.
I eat. I eat. He doesn't eat.
Ele não come.
He doesn't eat. He doesn't eat. To employ.
Empregar.
To employ. I employ.
Eu emprego.
I employ. I employ. He doesn't employ.
Ele não emprega.
He doesn't employ. He doesn't employ. To empty.
Esvaziar.
To empty. I empty.
Eu esvazio.
I empty. I empty. He doesn't empty.
Ele não esvazia.
He doesn't empty. He doesn't empty. To encourage.
Encorajar.
To encourage. I encourage.
Eu encorajo.
I encourage. I encourage. He doesn't encourage.
Ele não encoraja.
He doesn't encourage. He doesn't encourage. To enjoy.
Aproveitar.
To enjoy. I enjoy.
Eu aproveito.
I enjoy. I enjoy. He doesn't enjoy.
Ele não aproveita.
He doesn't enjoy. He doesn't enjoy. To enter.
Entrar.
To enter. I enter.
Eu entro.
I enter. I enter. He doesn't enter.
Ele não entra.
He doesn't enter. He doesn't enter. To escape.
Escapar.
To escape. I escape.
Eu escapo.
I escape. I escape. He doesn't escape.
Ele não escapa.
He doesn't escape. He doesn't escape. To examine.
Examinar.
To examine. I examine.
Eu examino.
I examine. I examine. He doesn't examine.
Ele não examina.
He doesn't examine. He doesn't examine. To exist.
Existir.
To exist. I exist.
Eu existo.
I exist. I exist. He doesn't exist.
Ele não existe.
He doesn't exist. He doesn't exist. To explain.
Explicar.
To explain. I explain.
Eu explico.
I explain. I explain. He doesn't explain.
Ele não explica.
He doesn't explain. He doesn't explain. To explode.
Explodir.
To explode. I explode.
Eu explodo.
I explode. I explode. He doesn't explode.
Ele não explode.
He doesn't explode. He doesn't explode. To express.
Expressar.
To express. I express.
Eu expresso.
I express. I express. He doesn't express.
Ele não expressa.
He doesn't express. He doesn't express. To fail.
Falhar.
To fail. I fail.
Eu falho.
I fail. I fail. He doesn't fail.
Ele não falha.
He doesn't fail. He doesn't fail. To fear.
Temer.
To fear. I fear.
Eu temo.
I fear. I fear. He doesn't fear.
Ele não teme.
He doesn't fear. He doesn't fear. To feed.
alimentar,
To feed. I feed.
eu alimento,
I feed. I feed. He doesn't feed.
ele não alimenta,
He doesn't feed. He doesn't feed. To fight.
lutar,
To fight. I fight.
eu luto,
I fight. I fight. He doesn't fight.
ele não luta,
He doesn't fight. He doesn't fight. To fill.
encher,
To fill. I fill.
eu encho,
I fill. I fill. He doesn't fill.
ele não enche,
He doesn't fill. He doesn't fill. To finish.
terminar,
To finish. I finish.
eu termino,
I finish. I finish. He doesn't finish.
ele não termina,
He doesn't finish. He doesn't finish. To fit.
caber,
To fit. I fit.
eu caibo,
I fit. I fit. He doesn't fit.
ele não cabe,
He doesn't fit. He doesn't fit. To fix.
consertar,
To fix. I fix.
eu conserto,
I fix. I fix. He doesn't fix.
ele não conserta,
He doesn't fix. He doesn't fix. To fly.
voar,
To fly. I fly.
eu voo,
I fly. I fly. He doesn't fly.
ele não voa,
He doesn't fly. He doesn't fly. To fold.
dobrar,
To fold. I fold.
eu dobro,
I fold. I fold. He doesn't fold.
ele não dobra,
He doesn't fold. He doesn't fold. To force.
forçar,
To force. I force.
Eu forço.
I force. I force. He doesn't force.
Ele não força.
He doesn't force. He doesn't force. To forget.
Esquecer.
To forget. I forget.
Eu esqueço.
I forget. I forget. He doesn't forget.
Ele não esquece.
He doesn't forget. He doesn't forget. To forgive.
Perdoar.
To forgive. I forgive.
Eu perdoo.
I forgive. I forgive. He doesn't forgive.
Ele não perdoa.
He doesn't forgive. He doesn't forgive. To freeze.
Congelar.
To freeze. I freeze.
Eu congelo.
I freeze. I freeze. He doesn't freeze.
Ele não congela.
He doesn't freeze. He doesn't freeze. To fry.
Fritar.
To fry. I fry.
Eu frito.
I fry. I fry. He doesn't fry.
Ele não frita.
He doesn't fry. He doesn't fry. To gather.
Reunir.
To gather. I gather.
Eu reúno.
I gather. I gather. He doesn't gather.
Ele não reúne.
He doesn't gather. He doesn't gather. To guess.
Adivinhar.
To guess. I guess.
Eu adivinho.
I guess. I guess. He doesn't guess.
Ele não adivinha.
He doesn't guess. He doesn't guess. To handle.
Lidar.
To handle. I handle.
Eu lido.
I handle. I handle. He doesn't handle.
Ele não lida.
He doesn't handle. He doesn't handle. To hate.
Odiar.
To hate. I hate.
Eu odeio.
I hate. I hate. He doesn't hate.
Ele não odeia.
He doesn't hate. He doesn't hate. To heal.
Curar.
To heal. I heal.
Eu curo.
I heal. I heal. He doesn't heal.
Ele não cura.
He doesn't heal. He doesn't heal. To hide.
Esconder.
To hide. I hide.
Eu escondo.
I hide. I hide. He doesn't hide.
Ele não esconde.
He doesn't hide. He doesn't hide. To hit.
Bater.
To hit. I hit.
Eu bato.
I hit. I hit. He doesn't hit.
Ele não bate.
He doesn't hit. He doesn't hit. To hope.
Esperar.
To hope. I hope.
Eu espero.
I hope. I hope. He doesn't hope.
Ele não espera.
He doesn't hope. He doesn't hope. To hug.
Abraçar.
To hug. I hug.
Eu abraço.
I hug. I hug. He doesn't hug.
Ele não abraça.
He doesn't hug. He doesn't hug. To hunt.
Caçar.
To hunt. I hunt.
Eu caço.
I hunt. I hunt. He doesn't hunt.
Ele não caça.
He doesn't hunt. He doesn't hunt. To hurry.
Apressar-se.
To hurry. I hurry.
Eu me apresso.
I hurry. I hurry. He doesn't hurry.
Ele não se apressa.
He doesn't hurry. He doesn't hurry. To hurt.
Machucar.
To hurt. I hurt.
Eu machuco.
I hurt. I hurt. He doesn't hurt.
Ele não machuca.
He doesn't hurt. He doesn't hurt. To ignore.
Ignorar.
To ignore. I ignore.
Eu ignoro.
I ignore. I ignore. He doesn't ignore.
Ele não ignora.
He doesn't ignore. He doesn't ignore. To imagine.
Imaginar.
To imagine. I imagine.
Eu imagino.
I imagine. I imagine. He doesn't imagine.
Ele não imagina.
He doesn't imagine. He doesn't imagine. To improve.
Melhorar.
To improve. I improve.
Eu melhoro.
I improve. I improve. He doesn't improve.
Ele não melhora.
He doesn't improve. He doesn't improve. To increase.
Aumentar.
To increase. I increase.
Eu aumento.
I increase. I increase. He doesn't increase.
Ele não aumenta.
He doesn't increase. He doesn't increase. To inform.
Informar.
To inform. I inform.
Eu informo.
I inform. I inform. He doesn't inform.
Ele não informa.
He doesn't inform. He doesn't inform. To inject.
Injetar.
To inject. I inject.
Eu injeto.
I inject. I inject. He doesn't inject.
Ele não injeta.
He doesn't inject. He doesn't inject. To injure.
Ferir.
To injure. I injure.
Eu firo.
I injure. I injure. He doesn't injure.
Ele não fere.
He doesn't injure. He doesn't injure. To insert.
Inserir.
To insert. I insert.
Eu insiro.
I insert. I insert. He doesn't insert.
Ele não insere.
He doesn't insert. He doesn't insert. To insist.
Insistir.
To insist. I insist.
Eu insisto.
I insist. I insist. He doesn't insist.
Ele não insiste.
He doesn't insist. He doesn't insist. To inspect.
Inspecionar.
To inspect. I inspect.
Eu inspeciono.
I inspect. I inspect. He doesn't inspect.
Ele não inspeciona.
He doesn't inspect. He doesn't inspect. To inspire.
Inspirar.
To inspire. I inspire.
Eu inspiro.
I inspire. I inspire. He doesn't inspire.
Ele não inspira.
He doesn't inspire. He doesn't inspire. To install.
Instalar.
To install. I install.
Eu instalo.
I install. I install. He doesn't install.
Ele não instala.
He doesn't install. He doesn't install. To intend.
Pretender.
To intend. I intend.
Eu pretendo.
I intend. I intend. He doesn't intend.
Ele não pretende.
He doesn't intend. He doesn't intend. To introduce.
Apresentar.
To introduce. I introduce.
Eu apresento.
I introduce. I introduce. He doesn't introduce.
Ele não apresenta.
He doesn't introduce. He doesn't introduce. To invent.
Inventar.
To invent. I invent.
Eu invento.
I invent. I invent. He doesn't invent.
Ele não inventa.
He doesn't invent. He doesn't invent. To invite.
Convidar.
To invite. I invite.
Eu convido.
I invite. I invite. He doesn't invite.
Ele não convida.
He doesn't invite. He doesn't invite. To join.
Juntar-se.
To join. I join.
Eu me junto.
I join. I join. He doesn't join.
Ele não se junta.
He doesn't join. He doesn't join. To jump.
Pular.
To jump. I jump.
Eu pulo.
I jump. I jump. He doesn't jump.
Ele não pula.
He doesn't jump. He doesn't jump. To kick.
Chutar.
To kick. I kick.
Eu chuto.
I kick. I kick. He doesn't kick.
Ele não chuta.
He doesn't kick. He doesn't kick. To kiss.
Beijar.
To kiss. I kiss.
Eu beijo.
I kiss. I kiss. He doesn't kiss.
Ele não beija.
He doesn't kiss. He doesn't kiss. To knock.
Bater.
To knock. I knock.
Eu bato.
I knock. I knock. He doesn't knock.
Ele não bate.
He doesn't knock. He doesn't knock. To laugh.
Rir.
To laugh. I laugh.
Eu rio.
I laugh. I laugh. He doesn't laugh.
Ele não ri.
He doesn't laugh. He doesn't laugh. To lend.
Emprestar.
To lend. I lend.
Eu empresto.
I lend. I lend. He doesn't lend.
Ele não empresta.
He doesn't lend. He doesn't lend. To lie.
Mentir.
To lie. I lie.
Eu minto.
I lie. I lie. He doesn't lie.
Ele não mente.
He doesn't lie. He doesn't lie. To lift.
Levantar.
To lift. I lift.
Eu levanto.
I lift. I lift. He doesn't lift.
Ele não levanta.
He doesn't lift. He doesn't lift. To light.
Iluminar.
To light. I light.
Eu ilumino.
I light. I light. He doesn't light.
Ele não ilumina.
He doesn't light. He doesn't light. To listen.
Escutar.
To listen. I listen.
Eu escuto.
I listen. I listen. He doesn't listen.
Ele não escuta.
He doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. To maintain.
Manter.
To maintain. I maintain.
Eu mantenho.
I maintain. I maintain. He doesn't maintain.
Ele não mantém.
He doesn't maintain. He doesn't maintain. To manage.
Gerenciar.
To manage. I manage.
Eu gerencio.
I manage. I manage. He doesn't manage.
Ele não gerencia.
He doesn't manage. He doesn't manage. To marry.
Casar.
To marry. I marry.
Eu caso.
I marry. I marry. He doesn't marry.
Ele não casa.
He doesn't marry. He doesn't marry. To match.
Combinar.
To match. I match.
Eu combino.
I match. I match. He doesn't match.
Ele não combina.
He doesn't match. He doesn't match. To measure.
Medir.
To measure. I measure.
Eu meço.
I measure. I measure. He doesn't measure.
Ele não mede.
He doesn't measure. He doesn't measure. To melt.
derreter,
To melt. I melt.
eu derreto,
I melt. I melt. He doesn't melt.
ele não derrete,
He doesn't melt. He doesn't melt. To memorize.
memorizar,
To memorize. I memorize.
eu memorizo,
I memorize. I memorize. He doesn't memorize.
ele não memoriza,
He doesn't memorize. He doesn't memorize. To mend.
consertar,
To mend. I mend.
eu conserto,
I mend. I mend. He doesn't mend.
ele não conserta,
He doesn't mend. He doesn't mend. To miss.
sentir falta,
To miss. I miss.
eu sinto falta,
I miss. I miss. He doesn't miss.
ele não sente falta,
He doesn't miss. He doesn't miss. To mix.
misturar,
To mix. I mix.
eu misturo,
I mix. I mix. He doesn't mix.
ele não mistura,
He doesn't mix. He doesn't mix. To multiply.
multiplicar,
To multiply. I multiply.
eu multiplico,
I multiply. I multiply. He doesn't multiply.
ele não multiplica,
He doesn't multiply. He doesn't multiply. To murder.
assassinar,
To murder. I murder.
eu assassino,
I murder. I murder. He doesn't murder.
ele não assassina,
He doesn't murder. He doesn't murder. To notice.
notar,
To notice. I notice.
eu noto,
I notice. I notice. He doesn't notice.
ele não nota,
He doesn't notice. He doesn't notice. To obey.
Obedecer.
To obey. I obey.
Eu obedeço.
I obey. I obey. He doesn't obey.
Ele não obedece.
He doesn't obey. He doesn't obey. To object.
Objetar.
To object. I object.
Eu objeto.
I object. I object. He doesn't object.
Ele não objeta.
He doesn't object. He doesn't object. To observe.
Observar.
To observe. I observe.
Eu observo.
I observe. I observe. He doesn't observe.
Ele não os observa.
He doesn't observe. He doesn't observe. To obtain.
Obter.
To obtain. I obtain.
Eu obtenho.
I obtain. I obtain. He doesn't obtain.
Ele não obtém.
He doesn't obtain. He doesn't obtain. To order.
Pedir.
To order. I order.
Eu peço.
I order. I order. He doesn't order.
Ele não pede.
He doesn't order. He doesn't order. To pack.
Empacotar.
To pack. I pack.
Eu empacoto.
I pack. I pack. He doesn't pack.
Ele não empacota.
He doesn't pack. He doesn't pack. To paint.
Pintar.
To paint. I paint.
Eu pinto.
I paint. I paint. He doesn't paint.
Ele não pinta.
He doesn't paint. He doesn't paint. To peel.
Descascar.
To peel. I peel.
Eu descasco.
I peel. I peel. He doesn't peel.
Ele não descasca.
He doesn't peel. He doesn't peel. To perform.
Apresentar.
To perform. I perform.
Eu me apresento.
I perform. I perform. He doesn't perform.
Ele não se apresenta.
He doesn't perform. He doesn't perform. To persuade.
Persuadir.
To persuade. I persuade.
Eu persuado.
I persuade. I persuade. He doesn't persuade.
Eles não persuade.
He doesn't persuade. He doesn't persuade. To pinch.
Beliscar.
To pinch. I pinch.
Eu belisco.
I pinch. I pinch. He doesn't pinch.
Ele não belisca.
He doesn't pinch. He doesn't pinch. To plan.
Planejar.
To plan. I plan.
Eu planejo.
I plan. I plan. He doesn't plan.
Ele não planeja.
He doesn't plan. He doesn't plan. To point.
Apontar.
To point. I point.
Eu aponto.
I point. I point. He doesn't point.
Ele não aponta.
He doesn't point. He doesn't point. To possess.
Possuir.
To possess. I possess.
Eu possuo.
I possess. I possess. He doesn't possess.
Ele não possui.
He doesn't possess. He doesn't possess. To pour.
Derramar.
To pour. I pour.
Eu derramo.
I pour. I pour. He doesn't pour.
Ele não derrama.
He doesn't pour. He doesn't pour. To practice.
Praticar.
To practice. I practice.
Eu pratico.
I practice. I practice. He doesn't practice.
Ele não pratica.
He doesn't practice. He doesn't practice. To prefer.
Preferir.
To prefer. I prefer.
Eu prefiro.
I prefer. I prefer. He doesn't prefer.
Ele não prefere.
He doesn't prefer. He doesn't prefer. To prepare.
Preparar.
To prepare. I prepare.
Eu preparo.
I prepare. I prepare. He doesn't prepare.
Ele não prepara.
He doesn't prepare. He doesn't prepare. To press.
Pressionar.
To press. I press.
Eu pressiono.
I press. I press. He doesn't press.
Ele não pressiona.
He doesn't press. He doesn't press. To pretend.
Fingir.
To pretend. I pretend.
Eu finjo.
I pretend. I pretend. He doesn't pretend.
Ele não finge.
He doesn't pretend. He doesn't pretend. To prevent.
Prevenir.
To prevent. I prevent.
Eu previno.
I prevent. I prevent. He doesn't prevent.
Ele não previne.
He doesn't prevent. He doesn't prevent. To print.
Imprimir.
To print. I print.
Eu imprimo.
I print. I print. He doesn't print.
Ele não imprime.
He doesn't print. He doesn't print. To produce.
Produzir.
To produce. I produce.
Eu produzo.
I produce. I produce. He doesn't produce.
Ele não produz.
He doesn't produce. He doesn't produce. To promise.
Prometer.
To promise. I promise.
Eu prometo.
I promise. I promise. He doesn't promise.
Ele não promete.
He doesn't promise. He doesn't promise. To protect.
Proteger.
To protect. I protect.
Eu protejo.
I protect. I protect. He doesn't protect.
Ele não protege.
He doesn't protect. He doesn't protect. To pump.
Bombear.
To pump. I pump.
Eu bombeio.
I pump. I pump. He doesn't pump.
Ele não bombeia.
He doesn't pump. He doesn't pump. To punch.
Socar.
To punch. I punch.
Eu soco.
I punch. I punch. He doesn't punch.
Ele não soca.
He doesn't punch. He doesn't punch. To punish.
Punir.
To punish. I punish.
Eu puno.
I punish. I punish. He doesn't punish.
Ele não pune.
He doesn't punish. He doesn't punish. To push.
Empurrar.
To push. I push.
Eu empurro.
I push. I push. He doesn't push.
Ele não empurra.
He doesn't push. He doesn't push. To question.
Questionar.
To question. I question.
Né? Eu questiono.
I question. I question. He doesn't question.
Ele não questiona.
He doesn't question. He doesn't question. To race.
Correr.
To race. I race.
Eu corro.
I race. I race. He doesn't race.
Ele não corre.
He doesn't race. He doesn't race. To rain.
Chover.
To rain. I rain.
Eu chove.
I rain. I rain. He doesn't rain.
Ele não chove.
He doesn't rain. He doesn't rain. To realize.
Perceber.
To realize. I realize.
Eu percebo.
I realize. I realize. He doesn't realize.
Ele não percebe.
He doesn't realize. He doesn't realize. To receive.
Receber.
To receive. I receive.
Eu recebo.
I receive. I receive. He doesn't receive.
Ele não recebe.
He doesn't receive. He doesn't receive. To recognize.
Reconhecer.
To recognize. I recognize.
Eu reconheço.
I recognize. I recognize. He doesn't recognize.
Ele não reconhece.
He doesn't recognize. He doesn't recognize. To record.
Gravar.
To record. I record.
Eu gravo.
I record. I record. He doesn't record.
Ele não grava.
He doesn't record. He doesn't record. To reduce.
Reduzir.
To reduce. I reduce.
Eu reduzo.
I reduce. I reduce. He doesn't reduce.
Ele não reduz.
He doesn't reduce. He doesn't reduce. To reflect.
Refletir.
To reflect. I reflect.
Eu reflito.
I reflect. I reflect. He doesn't reflect.
Ele não reflete.
He doesn't reflect. He doesn't reflect. To refuse.
Recusar.
To refuse. I refuse.
Eu recuso.
I refuse. I refuse. He doesn't refuse.
Ele não recusa.
He doesn't refuse. He doesn't refuse. To regret.
Arrepender-se.
To regret. I regret.
Eu me arrependo.
I regret. I regret. He doesn't regret.
Esse não se arrepende.
He doesn't regret. He doesn't regret. To relax.
Relaxar.
To relax. I relax.
Eu relaxo.
I relax. I relax. He doesn't relax.
Ele não relaxa.
He doesn't relax. He doesn't relax. To release.
Soltar.
To release. I release.
Eu solto.
I release. I release. He doesn't release.
Ele não solta.
He doesn't release. He doesn't release. To rely.
Depender.
To rely. I rely.
Eu dependo.
I rely. I rely. He doesn't rely.
Ele não depende.
He doesn't rely. He doesn't rely. To remind.
Lembrar.
To remind. I remind.
Eu lembro.
I remind. I remind. He doesn't remind.
Ele não lembra.
He doesn't remind. He doesn't remind. To remove.
Remover.
To remove. I remove.
Eu removo.
I remove. I remove. He doesn't remove.
Ele não remove.
He doesn't remove. He doesn't remove. To repair.
Reparar.
To repair. I repair.
Eu reparo.
I repair. I repair. He doesn't repair.
Ele não repara.
He doesn't repair. He doesn't repair. To repeat.
Repetir.
To repeat. I repeat.
Eu repito.
I repeat. I repeat. He doesn't repeat.
Ele não repete.
He doesn't repeat. He doesn't repeat. To replace.
Substituir.
To replace. I replace.
Eu substituo.
I replace. I replace. He doesn't replace.
Ele não substitui.
He doesn't replace. He doesn't replace. To reply.
Responder.
To reply. I reply.
Eu respondo.
I reply. I reply. He doesn't reply.
Ele não responde.
He doesn't reply. He doesn't reply. To reproduce.
Reproduzir.
To reproduce. I reproduce.
Eu reproduzo.
I reproduce. I reproduce. He doesn't reproduce.
Ele não reproduz.
He doesn't reproduce. He doesn't reproduce. To request.
Solicitar.
To request. I request.
Eu solicito.
I request. I request. He doesn't request.
Ele não solicita.
He doesn't request. He doesn't request. To rescue.
Resgatar.
To rescue. I rescue.
Eu resgato.
I rescue. I rescue. He doesn't rescue.
Ele não resgata.
He doesn't rescue. He doesn't rescue. To retire.
Aposentar-se.
To retire. I retire.
Eu me aposento.
I retire. I retire. He doesn't retire.
Ele não se aposenta.
He doesn't retire. He doesn't retire. To return.
Retornar.
To return. I return.
Eu retorno.
I return. I return. He doesn't return.
Ele não retorna.
He doesn't return. He doesn't return. To rhyme.
Rimar.
To rhyme. I rhyme.
Eu rimo.
I rhyme. I rhyme. He doesn't rhyme.
Ele não rima.
He doesn't rhyme. He doesn't rhyme. To ring.
Tocar.
To ring. I ring.
Eu toco.
I ring. I ring. He doesn't ring.
Ele não toca.
He doesn't ring. He doesn't ring. To rob.
roubar,
To rob. I rob.
eu roubo,
I rob. I rob. He doesn't rob.
ele não rouba,
He doesn't rob. He doesn't rob. To rub.
esfregar,
To rub. I rub.
eu esfrego,
I rub. I rub. He doesn't rub.
ele não esfrega,
He doesn't rub. He doesn't rub. To ruin.
arruinar,
To ruin. I ruin.
eu arruíno,
I ruin. I ruin. He doesn't ruin.
ele não arruína,
He doesn't ruin. He doesn't ruin. To rule.
governar,
To rule. I rule.
eu governo,
I rule. I rule. He doesn't rule.
ele não governa,
He doesn't rule. He doesn't rule. To rush.
apressar,
To rush. I rush.
eu apresso,
I rush. I rush. He doesn't rush.
ele não apressa,
He doesn't rush. He doesn't rush. To sail.
velejar,
To sail. I sail.
eu velejo,
I sail. I sail. He doesn't sail.
ele não veleja,
He doesn't sail. He doesn't sail. To satisfy.
satisfazer,
To satisfy. I satisfy.
eu satisfaço,
I satisfy. I satisfy. He doesn't satisfy.
ele não satisfaz,
He doesn't satisfy. He doesn't satisfy. To save.
salvar,
To save. I save.
eu salvo,
I save. I save. He doesn't save.
ele não salva,
He doesn't save. He doesn't save. To saw.
Cerrar.
To saw. I saw.
Eu cerro.
I saw. I saw. He doesn't saw.
Ele não cerra.
He doesn't saw. He doesn't saw. To scare.
Assustar.
To scare. I scare.
Eu assusto.
I scare. I scare. He doesn't scare.
Ele não assusta.
He doesn't scare. He doesn't scare. To scratch.
Arranhar.
To scratch. I scratch.
Eu arranho.
I scratch. I scratch. He doesn't scratch.
Ele não arranha.
He doesn't scratch. He doesn't scratch. To scream.
Gritar.
To scream. I scream.
Eu grito.
I scream. I scream. He doesn't scream.
Ele não grita.
He doesn't scream. He doesn't scream. To search.
Procurar.
To search. I search.
Eu procuro.
I search. I search. He doesn't search.
Ele não procura.
He doesn't search. He doesn't search. To settle.
Estabelecer.
To settle. I settle.
Eu estabeleço.
I settle. I settle. He doesn't settle.
Ele não estabelece.
He doesn't settle. He doesn't settle. To sew.
Costurar.
To sew. I sew.
Eu costuro.
I sew. I sew. He doesn't sew.
Ele não costura.
He doesn't sew. He doesn't sew. To shake.
Tremer.
To shake. I shake.
Eu tremo.
I shake. I shake. He doesn't shake.
Ele não treme.
He doesn't shake. He doesn't shake. To share.
Compartilhar.
To share. I share.
Eu compartilho.
I share. I share. He doesn't share.
Ele não compartilha.
He doesn't share. He doesn't share. To shave.
Barbear-se.
To shave. I shave.
Eu me barbeio.
I shave. I shave. He doesn't shave.
Ele não se barbeia.
He doesn't shave. He doesn't shave. To shine.
Brilhar.
To shine. I shine.
Eu brilho.
I shine. I shine. He doesn't shine.
Ele não brilha.
He doesn't shine. He doesn't shine. To shoot.
Atirar.
To shoot. I shoot.
Eu atiro.
I shoot. I shoot. He doesn't shoot.
Ele não atira.
He doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot. To shop.
Comprar.
To shop. I shop.
Eu compro.
I shop. I shop. He doesn't shop.
Ele não compra.
He doesn't shop. He doesn't shop. To shout.
Gritar.
To shout. I shout.
Eu grito.
I shout. I shout. He doesn't shout.
Ele não grita.
He doesn't shout. He doesn't shout. To sigh.
Suspirar.
To sigh. I sigh.
Eu suspiro.
I sigh. I sigh. He doesn't sigh.
Ele não suspira.
He doesn't sigh. He doesn't sigh. To sign.
Assinar.
To sign. I sign.
Eu assino.
I sign. I sign. He doesn't sign.
Ele não assina.
He doesn't sign. He doesn't sign. To sing.
Cantar.
To sing. I sing.
Eu canto.
I sing. I sing. He doesn't sing.
Ele não canta.
He doesn't sing. He doesn't sing. To sink.
Afundar.
To sink. I sink.
Eu afundo.
I sink. I sink. He doesn't sink.
Ele não afunda.
He doesn't sink. He doesn't sink. To skate.
Patinar.
To skate. I skate.
Eu patino.
I skate. I skate. He doesn't skate.
Ele não patina.
He doesn't skate. He doesn't skate. To ski.
Esquiar.
To ski. I ski.
Eu esquio.
I ski. I ski. He doesn't ski.
Ele não esquia.
He doesn't ski. He doesn't ski. To sleep.
Dormir.
To sleep. I sleep.
Eu durmo.
I sleep. I sleep. He doesn't sleep.
Ele não dorme.
He doesn't sleep. He doesn't sleep. To slip.
Escorregar.
To slip. I slip.
Eu escorrego.
I slip. I slip. He doesn't slip.
Ele não escorrega.
He doesn't slip. He doesn't slip. To smash.
Esmagar.
To smash. I smash.
Eu esmago.
I smash. I smash. He doesn't smash.
Ele não esmaga.
He doesn't smash. He doesn't smash. To smell.
Cheirar.
To smell. I smell.
Eu cheiro.
I smell. I smell. He doesn't smell.
Ele não cheira.
He doesn't smell. He doesn't smell. To smile.
Sorrir.
To smile. I smile.
Eu sorrio.
I smile. I smile. He doesn't smile.
Ele não sorri.
He doesn't smile. He doesn't smile. To smoke.
Fumar.
To smoke. I smoke.
Eu fumo.
I smoke. I smoke. He doesn't smoke.
Ele não fuma.
He doesn't smoke. He doesn't smoke. To snore.
Roncar.
To snore. I snore.
Eu ronco.
I snore. I snore. He doesn't snore.
Ele não ronca.
He doesn't snore. He doesn't snore. To solve.
Resolver.
To solve. I solve.
Eu resolvo.
I solve. I solve. He doesn't solve.
Ele não resolve.
He doesn't solve. He doesn't solve. To sound.
Soar.
To sound. I sound.
Eu sou.
I sound. I sound. He doesn't sound.
Ele não soa.
He doesn't sound. He doesn't sound. To spell.
Soletrar.
To spell. I spell.
Eu soletro.
I spell. I spell. He doesn't spell.
Ele não soletra.
He doesn't spell. He doesn't spell. To spill.
Derramar.
To spill. I spill.
Né? Eu derramo.
I spill. I spill. He doesn't spill.
Ele não derrama.
He doesn't spill. He doesn't spill. To spoil.
Estragar.
To spoil. I spoil.
Eu estrago.
I spoil. I spoil. He doesn't spoil.
Ele não estraga.
He doesn't spoil. He doesn't spoil. To spread.
Espalhar.
To spread. I spread.
Eu espalho.
I spread. I spread. He doesn't spread.
Ele não espalha.
He doesn't spread. He doesn't spread. To spring.
Saltar.
To spring. I spring.
Eu salto.
I spring. I spring. He doesn't spring.
Ele não salta.
He doesn't spring. He doesn't spring. To stand.
Ficar em pé.
To stand. I stand.
Eu fico em pé.
I stand. I stand. He doesn't stand.
Ele não fica em pé.
He doesn't stand. He doesn't stand. To start.
Começar.
To start. I start.
Eu começo.
I start. I start. He doesn't start.
Ele não começa.
He doesn't start. He doesn't start. To stay.
Ficar.
To stay. I stay.
Eu fico.
I stay. I stay. He doesn't stay.
Ele não fica.
He doesn't stay. He doesn't stay. To steal.
Roubar.
To steal. I steal.
Eu roubo.
I steal. I steal. He doesn't steal.
Ele não rouba.
He doesn't steal. He doesn't steal. To step.
Pisar.
To step. I step.
Né? Eu piso.
I step. I step. He doesn't step.
Ele não pisa.
He doesn't step. He doesn't step. To store.
Armazenar.
To store. I store.
Eu armazeno.
I store. I store. He doesn't store.
Ele não armazena.
He doesn't store. He doesn't store. To stretch.
Esticar.
To stretch. I stretch.
Eu estico.
I stretch. I stretch. He doesn't stretch.
Ele não estica.
He doesn't stretch. He doesn't stretch.